He's in a private shop in Yerushalmi, over the continuation of the stories of the kings of the Jews. Remember that the Jews were divided into two camps, two distinctly different kingdoms. One was the kingdom of Yehuda, the kings of the descendants of David HaMelech, and the other were the 10 tribes, 10 Shivatim, who started with Yeravam ben Nevat, the first king. They reached the case of Achav, King Achav, who spread so much idol worship that Eliyahu Navi got into a battle with him, and finally he died and his son took over. It's interesting to note that David HaMelech, who was the first king of the kingdom of Yehuda, is buried in Yerushalmi, right at the gate of the old city, Har Zion, Mount Zion. And there you have, it's called Kever David HaMelech, but whenever you're asked where is Shlomo HaMelech buried, where is Chavan buried, son of Shlomo, the other kings of Yehuda, the answer is in the same place. Because that's not the grave of King David himself, that's the grave of all the kings of Yehuda, the descendants of King David. All those kings are buried in the Har Zion, near David HaMelech. Special place set aside for the Malchut Bet David, kingdom of David HaMelech.
When the two kingdoms split up, the kingdom of Yehuda stayed in Yerushalmi as their capital.
Kingdom stayed in Yerushalmi. The other was because that's how they split up. The other 10 tribes, well, because Yerushalmi was the property of Yehuda and Benjamin. They didn't take away the property. When Yehoshua divided the land, he divided it according to the command of Hashem. And Yerushalmi was divided between Yehuda and Benjamin. That's the 2 tribes from which King David came.
Would you say there were both good kingdoms in there as far as our province would be? We say Yerushalmi, we say David HaMelech, we always follow that.
You're forgetting the story. Hashem said to Yeravam ben Nevat, you recall, you'll be good, you remain as king. At least 10 tribes. If not, you lose the kingdom. And that's what happened later on. He turned bad, and all his followers too. Those who followed after were practically all bad, as we'll see. Achav was even worse than Yeravam ben Nevat. Well, at this time, the son of Achav was ruling over the kingdom of Yisrael, is called. Kingdom of Yisrael, kingdom of Yehuda. Let's keep those 2 in mind. Kingdom of Yehuda is the kingdom of King David, King David's family, and the kingdom of Israel and 10 tribes. And the Shulchan came to the city of Damascus. Where is that? Syria. Right? At that time, the king of Syria was very sick. His name was Ben-Hadad. Ben-Hadad. Hadad was the king of Syria. Very honorable name. He was the owner of certain mills and stores, importers, exporters. He was king. King of Syria.
He's trying to say about Hadad, Carolina.
I didn't say you said. I didn't say. Okay. Good. And what he heard that the Shehanavi was there, and the Shehanavi's fame had spread as a prophet. Now, a prophet, the word prophet means seer. One who sees the future. So for the miracles he could perform, that's one thing. What they had in those days, lots of magicians who could do miracles too. But being a prophet means he could foresee the future very clearly. Like we see the present, he could see the future, even clearer. This king was very sick, so he sent to Arizal, his main next to the king. He said, go take a very special gift and go visit Elisha Hanavi and ask him if I will be cured from this sickness. He knows the future. Hazael went with this gift and he came to Elisha Hanavi and he said, your son Ben Hadad, your son means your student, your follower, your believer, sent me to ask you, will I live from this sickness? And the Shanavi said to Chazael, go tell him, you will live, but Hashem has shown me the future that he will die. Now, what's meant by you will live? How could you say something which is not true? So the Gemara says, you will live. Chazael, you will live. Don't tell him you will live. Understand? So, it's a play on words. Tell him that you will live, meaning Chazael will live. He is going to die. Well, he stood there for a while, and he controlled himself. He couldn't control him. When he turned around, he started to cry. He burst out crying. So Hazael was embarrassed. He said, why does my master cry? So he showed me this because I see the future also. Hashem will show me that you are going to torment and torture and persecute and kill the Jews. Vast numbers. You're going to enslave them. You're going to torture them. Hazael said, you consider me a dog that I should do things like this? Ask me, Shalom. And the Shanavi said, I know one thing, you're going to be king instead of Ben Hadad. And that's what the future shows. Hazael bowed, he left, and he was filled with this greed, king. It's a big thing to be king of a kingdom. He came home, the next day he found Ben Hadad with a very high fever. So he said to him, let me help you. What did Ben-Hadad asked him, what did the Shanavi say to you? He said, the Shanavi said to me, you will live. Again, he said the truth. He said to me, you will live. He said to me these words, you will live. Ben-Hadad brought that admit for himself, so he felt better. But he had a very high fever the next day. So Chazael said to him, let me help you. Get this fever away. I'll get a cold towel, very cold towel, and put it over your head, over your face. That will bring the fever down. Took this cold towel, he put it over Ben-Hadad's face, and of course this shock treatment of a cold towel on fever caused him to die immediately.
Why? Because his
fever was burning. Take a cold towel, put it over him. That was a shock treatment, which causes death. Which, by the way, of course, disproves some of the theories of doctors, because medical authorities say to put ice on a person who's alcoholic. They say put ice on a person's got a high fever. I know.
It's like a convulsion.
High fever. Put ice.
To try to soothe it out.
Right. Put ice on. I remember that I once had it. Badamineg. I had a fever run very high, and the doctor said there was no hope anyhow, so he says, get ice, put it on over the body. And they came and put ice on me, and it was murder. And it didn't help, so he said, do it again. So when they came and said, do it again, so I said, you put the ice on, and you go out of the window. And I meant it. They thought I was feverish and wild, so they retreated. But in this case, we see that it's dangerous to use extraordinary treatment like that. Ice against, very cold against heat. Of course, we're not medical authorities, we just know what the Torah says. Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. Now, Ben-Hadad died. Hazael, the king, took over. And Hazael, took over and he became king immediately. Now, meanwhile, Yoram, the son of Achav, ruled, and he was just as bad as his father. Now, why was he just as bad? Excuse me, no, not Yoram ruled in over Israel, but there was another, the Bet Yehuda, Malchut Yehuda, the two tribes. Yehoshaphat had been king. When he passed away, his son, whose name by coincidence was Yehoram too, he took over as king of the two tribes. And he turned out to be bad. So the Gemara says, why was he bad? Coming from a father like Yoshaphat, who was so good, how good was his father? The Gemara says that Eliyahu Hanavi was told by Hashem, go, at the time, if you recall, go, leave now, for 40 days and 40 nights, stay in a cave in Haifa, in a special cave called Yarat Eliyahu Hanavi. It's a large-sized cave. Those who have been there know. And in that cave he spent 40 days and 40 nights of solitary confinement, selling to Hashem. So the Gemara says, where did he get food from? How do you live 4 days without food? Well, Moshe Rabbeinu was in heaven. He didn't eat, he didn't drink. Because being in heaven, he had to live like heaven. He had to live like angels where he didn't eat and drink. But Eliyahu was on earth. He had to have food. Where did he get food? So the Torah says that Hashem sent him food through ravens. The ravens carried food to him. So the Gemara asks, where did the ravens get the food? A bird brings food to you, who says it's kosher? It could have come from, you could have found it on the street, could be food that wasn't slaughtered kosher. How do you know that this food was kosher? So the Gemara says that because he got it from, it came from the Jews, because this was in the section of the Jews. So the Gemara says, who says the Jews were kosher? In fact, the Gemara says the Jews weren't, because Moshe Makshiv Adrat Sheker. The rule is that if the leader is bad, the followers are bad. If they had a king like Achav, then the followers were unkosher too. So the Gemara says that he got it from the Malchut Yehuda, the kingdom of Yehuda. So the Gemara asks, who says they were kosher? The Gemara asks, because their king was Yehoshaphat, and he was good, and we only have one statement. The statement is a bad leader must have bad followers. That's all it says. But we derive from there, if the Gemara says that, we derive that if there's a good leader, he must have good followers. So therefore, if we got it from the kingdom of Yehuda, we don't know whether they were kosher or not. Factually, we have no information, but we do know that the leader was good, the people must have been good, and it must have been kosher. So now, get this point. So the Gemara says, here we had Yehoram, the son of Yoshaphat. His father was definitely good. His great-grandfather, King David, was certainly good. Why was he bad? How come that this son turned out bad? The Gemara says because he married the daughter of Achav. If a person marries a woman from a bad family, it must affect him. It must become bad. A wife has that much influence over a husband. Therefore, the Gemara says in Pesachim that a person, if he's out to get married, he should strive with everything he has. In fact, the wording is, sell everything you have to the last penny. The pillow under your head, even. Sell it to be sure to marry a bat Talmud Chacham, the daughter of a Chacham, of a Talmud Chacham, the daughter of a learned person, a religious Jew. Because then you know that the result will be that your home will be kosher. Kosher meaning the religious home will be kept properly, your children will be brought up properly, right. And do not marry the daughter of an Haaretz, one who is brought up irreligiously, because then you know that the home will be destroyed. The home, and even the master of the home, the husband himself. So therefore the Gemara says, because he chose to marry the daughter of Achav, the daughter of Hashem, therefore she turned him into evil. Now, the Yerushalmi says, to show further proof, the Gemara tells a case there of a husband and wife, both married, tzadik and tzadiket, both very pure, very religious. And they were married for a short time, they had no children, and they were both so pure that they once got into discussion. The wife said to the husband, I enjoy this marriage, it's wonderful, it's beautiful, but I suggest that we get a divorce. husband looked at her, why? What's wrong? Anything wrong with me? So she said, Chas v'sholom, you're a big tzadik. No question about it. You recognize tzadik, you're a big chacham, and tzadik are fine. And marriage is like an Eden. He said, well, you're a tzaddik too. What do you object to? Why do you want a divorce? She said, because we are both being very selfish. Why should we both live together as tzaddikim when we could be accomplishing something in this world? I suggest that we get a divorce, and you marry a woman who's no good, and I'll marry an Asha, so we can make two people good. We'll improve them. We'll perfect them. That's accomplishing something in life. He said it's a good idea. Let's accomplish. The Yemena says, this is a true story we met. They got a divorce. He married a Marshat, an evil woman. She married an Asha. And a short time later, the Yemena says, what developed was that she turned her husband into a tzaddik. She had so much influence over him, he became a tzaddik. The tzaddik who married an Ashat was influenced by his wife, and he became bad. So it shows the power of a wife, how important a wife is. It would seem from the Menachem where it says that in the home, religious matters should be decided by the husband, and household matters decided by the wife. That's what should be. What this should be means, where the husband is a chacham, where he's religious. We use the word chacham, we don't mean rabbi, because rabbi means nothing. We have, certain rabbis who are not chachams. We call chacham is someone who's wise. And the Yemena says, wise is he who accepts the right path, the path of Torah Mitzvot. So therefore, the ruling is that religious matters the husband should rule over the wife. But that's only if he's meaning if he's religious and good. Sure. Actually, though, the real influence in the home is wielded by the woman. Woman in the house is what makes the house. That's why the Yemena says that the rabbis never call their wives wife, because that's too coarse a statement. They call them my house. My house says, so forth. My house. Why? Because she is the akeleta bayit, the pillar upon which the house, or house means family. B'nei bayit means the people, members of the household. Household of family rests upon the shoulders of the wife. So in this case, therefore, the result was that Yehoram ben Yehoshaphat had a good father, he had a good kingdom, he had good people, and still he was misled because he married into the wrong family. He married a daughter of Achav. What's the difference? Her name was Bat Achav. There's a reason. The question you asked was answered well. I haven't time to go into reasons why this is the proper answer. The Zohar explains what I just said, so we don't have time to go into it. But there's a pasuk in Shemot, if you will notice, look into it, where it says that the father of Moshe Avraham married whom? A name, Bat Levi. Okay? Alas. Now, why is his Bat Levi? That the Zohar explains, but this will show you why. Yes, it wasn't just named haphazardly. Now, finally, Yeram died, and his son, Achaziah, took over the kingdom. Achaziah. This is still speaking about the kingdom of Yehuda. Achaziah, who had a mother whose name was Ataliah. She was also from the family of Achav. Naturally, since he came from that family, just the wife. Okay? Just slipped, huh?
I just remembered it.
Okay.
When you said Achaziah, I knew that was his mother.
Right. But I just told you the name. Class. So, because he came from that family, he had that family blood in him, he too was evil. Only he didn't last very long. Now, what happened meanwhile was that Rabbi called one of his students, this closest one of his students, this was no more Gehazi. Gehazi was Halas. Called him and he said to him, take this vial of oil. I wanted to anoint a king. To crown a king, you must have him first anointed with oil. As a law in the Torah, a king must be anointed. The question, of course, is why were certain kings not anointed? That was only because where a king is automatically inherits the kingdom, therefore is not anointed. But when a new king is to be crowned, then he requires Mashiach, anointing. And the Yerushalmi asks, of course, why was Shlomo HaMelech anointed if that's the case? He inherited the kingdom. The Yerushalmi answers different answers because of the fact there was machloket at the time. It was difficult to make a decision who would be chosen. But in this case, it meant that there's a new king to be chosen. And Yerushalmi told the student, take this vial of oil and go to the house of Yehu, come into him, and he'll meet together with all his friends there, important leaders. Take this vial of oil, pour it on his head, and tell him, in the name of Hashem, I have crowned you as king of the Jews. Open the door and run. Don't wait there for a second. Rosh Hashanah would cause a big eruption. This young Levi went. He came to the house of Yehu. Yehu was an important general. He had all his officers around him. And he said to Yehu, he said, I have something important to say to you, officer. Yehu said, which one do you want? Which one of us do you want to speak to? So he said, you, officer. So I must speak to you privately. He was curious. He saw an Navi. Navi went drastically. Walked out with him, took the oil, poured on his head, and he said, in the name of Hashem, Hashem says, I have crowned you as king over the nation of the Jews. To be king in the name of Hashem. Hashem says you should strike down the house of Achav. House meaning the family. Achav was there already. His son was king. I want revenge for my prophets, because Achav and his wife had killed so many hundreds of prophets of Hashem, Nevi'im, Tzadikim. I want the blood of my servants, the servants of Hashem, taken from the hand of Izebel. Izebel was the wife of Achav. And destroy Jezebel, destroy the house of Achav completely. There shouldn't be any remains whatsoever of his family. You tell him to sit someplace else. You shouldn't bother someone else. You go to sit there, he should fix you up. Right? Who?
When you said Jezebel, I know it. I have because I'm thinking that you should sing that stupid song.
Yeah. And the name of Hashem, therefore, the name of Hashem, you should destroy the house of Achav completely, wipe them out completely, and Yisrael, Achav's wife, the dogs are going to eat. Dogs will eat her in the valley of Israel. And there'll be no burial for her. We opened the door and ran. Then we came back to the other generals, and they said to him, okay, are you okay? What did this issue get come to you for? These were the servants of Achav's family. In other words, the true prophets of Hashem, they call them Mishugaim, the same. So he said to them, oh, you know this talk. You know what they say, forget it. So they said to Yehu, that's false. You're telling a lie. We see in you that he must have told you something important. Tell us. So he said, all right, I'll tell you. He told me Anyway, Hashem had chosen this king over the Jews. And they quickly took the other officers recognized this. They could see royalty in him because the war was on his forehead. They felt the fear. They knew that Yehu was a very strong nature type of person. They took out a shofar, they blew it, they said, Yehu is crowned as king. We accept you as king. He now had the generals of the army with him, so he said, all right, anybody on my side, stay with me and follow and do as I say, do as I bid. Those against me, know that they're my enemies and leave. They also will behind you. Meanwhile, Yoram, the king of the Jews, had gone into battle against the Goyim, and he was wounded in battle. Together with him, he came home to recuperate, and at the time, a visitor came to him to Tikuney Zohar. This visitor was the king of the Melchut Yehudah, king of the two tribes. They were both together, and in this valley of Israel, they were away from the capital city. They didn't have their army with them, and Yehu and his men started out towards there. A whole regiment of soldiers came riding towards there, and the one who's posted as guard on top of the balcony noticed this regiment of soldiers coming. He reported to the king, there's a regiment coming. The king said, we'll send out a man to find out if this is a peaceful mission. The soldier went out riding a horse, came forward to Yehu, and they asked him, is it peace? The Yehu said to him, peace you want? Get behind me, you'll have peace, otherwise you're out. The soldier came behind him. You know, his outlook. He pointed to the king, we sent the soldier out, and he didn't come back. He stayed with the regiment. So he sent a second one. He sent the second one, and same thing happened to him. What do you want, peace? To get behind me. So the king said to Aharon, let's both go, take our own coaches, the royal coaches, and go forward, because the outlook said it looks like Yehu, the important general of the army. Let's find out what's wrong. They didn't suspect a conspiracy. Can it be a conspiracy? There's something wrong. In a sense, he feared Yehu. They got into the royal coaches. They rode out towards Yehu. They came towards him, and Yoram said, is there peace? Is everything all right? So Yehu said to him, what peace do you want? You and Isabel, your mother, with all her people. You want peace for me? And Yoram saw this. He called out to Hazael, let's run, because this is a conspiracy. He turned the coach around, started to flee, and Yehu had a bow and arrow with him. He let loose one of them. He was a perfect marksman, and he struck the king of Yoram. He was killed. Then he said, don't let...
It was Ben Yoram,
Yoram ben Ahab. He was killed, and then Ahaziah saw this, so he started to flee too. Yehu chased after him, and he killed him.
Who's he been?
The king of Judah. Ahaziah, the son of Yoram ben Yoshaphat. So the Gemara says, why did he kill? He sent out to kill the king of Israel, the king of the 10 tribes. Why did he also kill the king of the 2 tribes, grandson of king, descendant of King David? The answer is because he committed certain sins that were so bad. In writing, he took these sentences of the Torah and misinterpreted them. Like you see around here, they take sentences. Torah is supposed to have faith in it completely. Misinterpret them to say it doesn't mean that, it's not literal, and so forth. To say the Torah not literal, and to change it, that was so bad that it was a mitzvah to kill him as much as to kill the other king of Judah. So he ruled only for 1 year. How come he did such a bad thing? Because he came from this bad blood. Natalia, his mother, from Achav's side, He too was killed. He did a king for only 1 year. Now, these were killed.
It was a mission of Zohar.
The mission was that he came together. The Gemara says, Oile Hashem, Oile Shchino. Woe is to Elisha, the woe is to his neighbor. The neighbor of Elisha, who is close to Elisha, has to suffer. For example,
Contingent had gone for mercy, not mission. But it's going to, he was sick.
Right. But the Gemara says, the case of, let's say, for instance, where does this apply? The Gemara says about Nigayim. A person never found there were different types of leprosy. 3 kinds of leprosy. One, leprosy in a person, human. Second was leprosy in clothing, where it developed a spot or stain. This was tamid, they had to burn the clothes. Third was leprosy in the walls of a house, where a stain went onto the wall. This was a kind of tzara'at leprosy, and they had to destroy these stones and take out the whole wall. And to resubmit it. The person was even what's happened to him. Of course, the Gemara says there were good reasons for it too. And the Jews moved into Israel, so they had the leprosy in the walls. They had opened the walls. They found treasures that were left there. Some cases, but ordinarily, leprosy, the Gemara says, came because of a sin. The Gemara says, here lived there, Hashem. He got leprosy in the walls. They had to break the wall down. What's the other person's fault? There's a tzadik living behind them. It's the same wall. He gets his wall broken. The answer is, you're going to do that Hashem, you got to pay for it. Where did Hashem do
today? And you forgot it next to us.
So, there's one. There's a story we saw in Yerushalmi. It's a story about Mishugaim. It's an insane character, but just it's so insane that it's, in a sense, it's cute. This guy knows how to learn a little bit, not much. And he takes him there, he reads and he learns it deep. He gets Tosafot Kushya. He doesn't like the Kushya. He tears out the page. And you can't kill him because he's really insane. So once they asked him, Breslov asked him, what did you do it for? He said, because he doesn't like that Tosafot Kushya. They said, all right, you're that crazy, you tear it out, but what do you want from the other side? The other side of the page is different. It's different. It's to that. He said, well, it says, well, it's to the neighbor. This is how cracking. Anyhow, this is why, no matter what Hashem went there for, he teamed up with this Hashem, he got the same end. And of course, the real reason he was killed was because of the fact that he distorted the words of Torah, and that's what he deserved.
The person coming for with a Jew on Shabbat should live in the same house with him. It's possible to move, he should move.
I don't know of anybody who's living in a house that doesn't have a Shabbat. So if you live in an apartment house,
the person, he's I live in an apartment house with 45 neighbors. I know one who's Shemei Shabbat. My son lives over there too. Well, but he knows the other one.
That's true.
No, but he's going to congregate that's what I so you should move out.
So you should move out to Yerushalmi.
Well, here the Americans are difficult to say that. It just says you should live in a neighborhood that's got religious people, that's all. And it doesn't say about, move out, that's too far. Yes, you have small children, they're liable to play with their neighbors' children, they'll be misled, they'll be influenced by them, and it's dangerous. But otherwise...
What if the person's trying to spend peace and Shabbat in there? Everything goes on that night. He doesn't have that same.
Depends upon where you live. I live in a house with 45 neighbors, which means that the court is always full of people coming in and going out, and cars pulling up in front of the house. And
he used to go right in the same, it's like the same.
The same 45 days.
Like one family only.
Every
step you could do, every telephone call.
So,
And puffing a cigar too.
we got neighbors on both sides.
Puffing a cigar.
Alright, now, Yehu didn't stop. He went, after he killed these two, he went straight on to the house of Arizal. When he came there, Arizal heard he was coming, so she got all dressed up with makeup and everything to try to win him over. Jezebel tried to win over Yehu. Figured he'll be victim to women.
Who had warned her that he's coming?
No, it was obvious. It's word had spread fast. He had killed his master. He had killed the king, assassinated the king. So when he came there, so she called out to him, "Peace, kill her of your master. But don't worry, it's been done before. I commend you for it." Try to win over that way.
He just killed her son, right?
So he said, she was looking out the window at her castle. And of course, in that castle were soldiers, royal. The Justice Department had bodyguards there. You called out, "Who's with me there? Who's on my side?" So 2 or 3 officers called out, "We are." He said, "All right, push her out of the window."
Really died.
So they shoved her out of the window, and she scraped the wall. She came down, and she fell down. It wasn't that high a fall. She was alive. He ran over with his horse. He trampled her to death. He said, "This is the command of Hashem. You should have no compassion, no pity on the Sha'im. This is the evil woman who killed the prophets of Hashem. Now we go eat. Let's go eat." Leave it there. They went to eat. We had a full meal. And he said, he said, "Now, after all, she is the royal blood. It's not right. She deserves burial. Respect for royal blood. Let's go bury her." They came out, and they found that her head, her arms, her legs were there. The rest of the body was missing. The dogs had eaten it up.
So fast?
Yeah. The Yehu said, "See how the word of Hashem came true. The dogs will eat Arizal's body." Now in Yerushalmi, he may ask, how come that, this is an important note, how come that the head, hands, and feet remained? If the dogs had eaten her up, why did these items remain? He answered, because Hashem never holds back reward for any mitzvah, no matter how small. She did one mitzvah with very much kavanah. When it came to a wedding, there's a mitzvah of kitzad meraktin lefnei hakala. How do you dance in front of the kala, make the kala happy? And she danced with all her kavanah to make the kala happy. So she used the feet to dance, her hands to clap, and her head to shake and dancing. So bowing to the kala. But because of this, these were not affected by the dogs. So that she did get, these were saved, and she did get burial at least for these parts. Now, the Yoda says, imagine if Arizal, the Rashad, was able to be saved from this horrible case of being eaten by dogs. The worst thing is not to get buried. The body has to be buried. Then become, even in its lightest sense, purified. Of course, when I shall, I can't win the matter too much. But there's a certain respect that's due to a body that is, after all, it is Maaseh Hashem. But to be eaten by dogs, that's the end of the body, is disgraceful. And yet, even in her case, the head, hands, and arms remain because of this mitzvah. Imagine how much greater the reward there is. That person is not like a regular person to partake in a simcha of a wedding, and to not to be lazy when it comes to dancing before the Chatei Kala. further. He had not completed his mission yet. Hashem said to him, you are supposed to wipe out the last vestige, the last trace of Achab's family. And wiped out, there should be no trace of his family at all. Achab had 70 sons in the city of Shalom, the capital city. So Yehu wrote a letter to the elders, leaders in Shalom, and he wrote to them and he said, when you get this letter to you, and the children of your master will be there, you have plenty of weapons there. It's the capital city. So it's up to you. I challenge you, as good servants of your master, pick up these weapons and to defend the masters. This is a challenge. They had heard already about the courage and the valor of Yehu. They turned chicken. They were very much afraid. And they said, if two kings, both kings couldn't withstand the power of Yehu, what chance do we have? And he sent the message to Yehu saying, we are your servants and we will follow you. Whatever you say, we won't fail to fulfill. So Yehu sent the message to him again saying, whatever I say, good, prove it. I want you to bring me immediately a package containing 70 heads, just the heads.
I didn't do it.
You did it. Shut. Well, you want to finish?
I say one word. I didn't do it. Sam, you can hear what he said. I like, don't sit next door. I don't really do anything. That's my... I'll tell you the whole thing. 70 sons of chicken, 70 heads.
70 sons of chickens.
70 chickens.
Not a dead.
No, he wants to be 70 sons with all chickens, yellow from Yehu.
No.
So Yehu says, people, 70 heads.
You weren't even listening, see?
Oh, really? No?
You weren't even listening.
Well, there's violence.
That's really, see, so I just want to put that, you're not being brave. You're not being brave for that. Not only that, but this is being taped.
Aharon had 70 sons, right?
70 sons, and he had...
And they came and got all the 70.
He was right there, everything else. He doesn't lose it. They sent the message to the leaders of Shulchan, you are the servants of your master. You are supposed to guard the 70 sons of Aharon. Take up weapons and defend them because I'm coming to get them.
Right.
They turned chicken. Meaning not chicken, means God, these servants and elders. And they sent a message to Yehu saying, whatever you say we'll do.
He said, bring me the 70
He said, prove it by bringing me the 70 heads of these 70 sons. There were no chickens there.
No, I said that. You said that very much, you didn't work.
Right.
I said the God, that's something.
Yeah, but you said the sons were chicken.
Probably chicken.
So, they got the second letter. Let's put it into a package. They sent it to Yehu. He got this package. Yehu came into town, and he said, well, now, this was all a trick. Well, now, is anybody going to complain about me killing the king? Who could call me an assassin? I killed the king. Which one would have the right to be just in condemning me? Look at these assassins killing 70 princes. Imagine that. Now, who could have them out against me? So he said, these people don't deserve to live. These are assassins. So he killed the rest of, he went through them. He killed the rest of the family of Yehu, wherever there was the slightest trace, second cousin, the 15th cousin. The family of Aharon. Yehu killed the family of Aharon. I was testing it.
You meant to say Yerushalmi.
No, I meant to say Aharon, just to test it.
Sure, he's away.
You notice nobody else answered. They waited till you And he wiped out the entire family of Achav completely to the last man. Then he came to Shomron, and there he found that the brothers of Achaziah were there. Achaziah, the king of the Yehuda, whom he had killed together with the king of Israel. So he said, get them all, kill them, slaughter them too. Because if they're brothers of this Moshe, they're all the same. They were all like that. Now, one was saved. No, the brothers were all like that. Excuse me, later on, the question, of course, who would rule after him was the son of Achaziah. Because this had to be. Hashem said, even if they would be at Asher, among those kings, Hashem swore to King David, your sons will continue to reign on the throne. No matter what happens, if one of them turns evil, his son will still carry on after him. The kingdom of Yehuda, that chain will remain forever. So much so that to this very day, one family has remained pure. Family of King David. Thousands of years, that family tree keeps on going down in purity. After all these years, we know that nowadays, who is a descendant of King David? The last we knew was Rabbi Nachman, direct descendant of King David. And today, of course, Rabbi Nachman's children, descendants in Israel.
The family of King David?
Yeah, descendant of the family of King David.
And he was connected to Baal Shem Tov?
He was grandson of Baal Shem Tov. Baal Shem Tov was family of King David. That's why King David was mistalik on this holiday of Shavuot. The Baal Shem Tov was the second holiday of Shavuot because he had the blood of King David in it. And of course, King David was born on Shavuot. And that's why the story of Ruth took place on Shavuot. Ruth, King David wrote the story. You know the story of Boaz and Ruth that took place on Shavuot.
King David was born on Shavuot and...
Well, King David passed away on his birthday, 70th birthday.
The year.
So therefore he was born on Shavuot, the Stalek on Shavuot, came out on Shabbat. Shabbat to the Shabbat. He closed the window.
Noise, right?
I closed the window.
You went to the window?
No. For a tree. They investigated a tree, took a ladder to see what's doing a tree.
Can you teach us how to understand?
What he said?
Yeah, you said, but
he said, I did?
Yeah, that's the third one.
Big storm came out, he went to the window and...
No, sir. He said, I said, wrong. I'll tell you what it says. The Gemara in Shabbat, page 30, where it says, Not like you said. I didn't say what you said. King David passed through because he closed the window.
What do you say?
Yeah, I remember a ladder. There's climbing a ladder to see about the colors in the tree. The red with the ladder.
When was the test?
Definitely, the angel is one of the things.
When was the story?
No. It's a few weeks ago.
I remember
the last part of the story, the last important part of the story of Yehu, for which Hashem promised him that he would be made as king and his son would reign after him. That's the biggest gift. Yehu came to Shomron, capital city, and he let out a proclamation. He said, you had a king, Aharon, who worshipped the Baal. Baal is the biggest Avodah Zarah. He worshipped the Baal a little. Yehu is going to worship him a lot, much more. Yehu said the proclamation. So Yehu said, now, what I want is, I want all the prophets of the Baal to get together. Every one of the prophets of the Baal, the priests of the Baal, get together. Not one should be missing, because we're going to have a big celebration to serve the guys that are the Baal in a big stadium. Shh. See what I mean? Get together with him, that's what happens. You disturb me. Shut up. Shh, be quiet. That's why I said you want to finish. Go ahead. Now you know the rest? Fuck up. We told you, if you leave this out, you will. Leave that to interrupt in the middle. That's one of the 4 rules. So, Yehu said, announce a big holiday. All those who serve the Baal should come. Not only that, he put out a proclamation that I'm making this big feast for the Baal. Every single prophet and priest of the Baal must come. Whoever doesn't come will be put to death. Because everyone must attend this big feast. They had this big stadium for it. It came filled from end to end. All over they came. Then he said to the official there, I want you to give special garments made up to each one of these priests and prophets of the Baal is supposed to wear that. You want to dress them in? And he said, no, I want those in the stadium, in this big auditorium, to look around. All you prophets of the Baal, I want you to make sure there's no spies in here. Make sure there's nobody here from those who believe in Hashem. So I don't want any spies. I want you to see that there's only the real prophets of the Baal, real idol worshippers. Looked around and checked to get rid of anybody who wasn't complete. He said, because I want the real loyal worshippers of the Baal for this big feast. He said, all right, everybody there, clean out. No spies, guaranteed no spies. Every one of the Baal is here, and nobody's missing, guaranteed, fine. We're ready for the big celebration. He walked out, he got 80 of his strongest soldiers, and he told them, you stay outside. Anybody inside dressed in those robes who escapes, you die. Here's swords. Anybody who escapes from this place alive, you die instead of him. Now we go inside, we have a feast. For the Baal, we're going to slaughter every one of these prophets of the Baal so we get rid of this Avodah Zarah. They went inside, they made a big feast there, they killed every single one of them. There were hundreds, probably thousands of these followers of the Baal. They wiped them out completely. Then he said, now we destroy the Baal itself, and the altars to the Baal, and the statues, and the stones they erected for it, everything taken out, burned up in fire, and destroyed completely. When he finished this, then Hashem spoke to Yehu. And Hashem said that because you have done so much good, you have fulfilled what is right in the eyes of Hashem, and you have destroyed the house of Achav, wiped them out. and you have destroyed the Baal and all the Baal's worshippers, therefore you'll be blessed by Hashem that you and your son and your grandson, great-grand, 4 generations will remain on the throne of the Malchut Yisrael, the kingdom of Israel. And Yehu remained as king. He was very good, but he wasn't that much of a tzadik. There were certain things he did that were not too pure as far as leaving some avodah zarah. A little bit was left over. He didn't clean it out completely, but he was regarded as a good king, and he ruled over the kingdom of Israel for a period of 28 years in Shalom. That's the story of one good king of the kingdom of Israel. Then we come back to the Malchut Yudah for the next.
You say that's some
And I see Yerushalmi that had placed 2 golden calves in 2 places that were easily accessible to all the Jews. This he did to stop them from going back to joining up with the 2 tribes, because they would say they got to go to Beit HaMikdash. So in order to avoid that, he told them, you have these 2 golden calves, that's enough for you. That's very enough, that's what does that actually. But it wasn't meant really seriously for does that. It was a symbol that you can worship Hashem here if you want. The real does it was the Baal. The Baal Pa'or. That was the real avodah zarah. This Yehu destroyed and wiped out.
The Sinai?
No, this was brought to, say, part of it. That's the story of Yehu, the one hero among the kings of the Jews. Next story we'll revert back to the story of kings of Yehuda.
How did they show that so far?
Right.
He just fades out now?
Huh?
He just fades out the story of it?
No, we'll get to the last part. This one last reminder that I will tell you that tomorrow night B'ezrat Hashem a few vital laws. Tomorrow afternoon, do not fail to make an Eruv Tavshilin. It's very important. If you want to be able to cook on Friday for Shabbat, you must have an Eruv Tavshilin. With the bracha. Eruv Tavshilin requires matzah, and an egg, matzah, and a cooked egg, and a cooked egg or a piece of fish. This must be eaten on Shabbat afternoon. But you have to eat it on Shabbat in the afternoon. Shabbat during the day. It must be eaten on Shabbat during the day. Dashli should be the best. If you can't eat dashli, should eat at least in the afternoon. Must be eaten then. Dashli should just the 3rd meal. Shabbat in the morning is the 2nd.
Afternoon is the 7th?
Well, afternoon we call you come home for knis because you're not supposed to eat before you go to knis.
That's how you eat. It's not the morning.
It's the morning. Depends what you say. Tomorrow night, B'ezrat Hashem, is Shavuot. And if you were Zocher, will be Zocher tonight to count the last night of the Omer, 49th night, 7 weeks of the Omer, if you're Zocher to that. We gone through it completely, and tomorrow night, B'ezrat Hashem, the 50th, is these 49 steps we proceeded, progressed, advanced towards Hashem. 50th, and that step we cannot make, so Hashem Kaviyachol comes to us on the night of Shavuot. But only those who are awake all night. Anyone says that it's mitzvah to learn Torah, it's mitzvah to say Tikuney Zohar Shavuot at night. But the most important, it's mitzvah to stay up all night. The saying is important, but not as important as staying up. The person who stays up, his neshama joins the neshamot of the tzadikim, who receive this exact same light. The light of Torah that's shown on Mount Sinai when the Torah is given, he's to receive that light too. So imagine there's a chut, therefore the Arizal, the Yaakov says a person who's up that night, it helps him for the rest of the year to avoid committing sins. Yes, the power of Torah is the greatest weapon, shield against the Yitzhara, against sin. And that's the importance of this night, to be sure to stay up at all costs, not to doze off at all. And then the person closes his eyes for a minute, and that could be his worst transition. Don't take a chance. I'll just close my eyes for a minute or two, because the person can lose out. So if you want to sleep, you'll sleep after the morning, after the Shachrit. Everyone is requested, invited to come tomorrow night to our Knis, the Arizal's Knis, where you'll have with us the Nishmat of Arizal. Because the Arizal said 3 times a year it is compulsory to visit with him. Arizal will be the tzadik event where you said that the Neshamot of Hashem, but the Shekhinah. Arizal will be the Shekhinah will be there too. You can't go better than that. Plus you have at 1 o'clock there is a shiur, a short shiur on Zohar Kadosh on the importance of the night, and then you have Tikuney Zohar, and then you have above all the mikvah of the 50th degree. That's the biggest zechut. Mikvah nun. Nun is 50. Nun is mikvah of the 50th degree. Nun are the 2 last letters of the Arizal's name, and that's the men which is a heavenly food, which means the dew of Gan Eden, dew of Amitim. You have that after the Tikuney Zohar, and we come back, we sully Shachrit with Vatikin to cap it off, so that you have a night that's so richly spent. You couldn't ask for better than that. About 4:30. Depends on it. Right. No, we start selling. It signals at about 5. We reach Amidah about, I'll check the exact time before we'll reach Amidah exactly no more. We'll time it to the minute, close to the second as possible. Once it's over, we have Kiddush and Knis after that, and you go home and sleep. Kiddush? Then they have to eat a dairy lunch, right? Thursday morning, Friday morning is the first day of Yom Tov. Friday and Shabbat, the 2 days of Yom Tov, you must have 5 meals. That's compulsory. You must have 5 meals. Friday and Saturday, 2 days of Yom Tov. You must have 2 meals the first day, compulsory. 3 meals the second day, Shabbat. Ordinarily, Shabbat is supposed to have 4 meals. Yom Tov requires 2 meals, Shabbat requires Shudash Nishit, the 3rd meal. So, on these 5 meals, 4 must be meat. 1 must be dairy. The first one is meat, that's tomorrow night. The second one is dairy. The other 3 must be meat. Now, the last one, of course, does not have to be meat. It actually should be fish, but not dairy. Not dairy. There are people who figure the Shabbat is so long, so late, so they eat a dairy. It should not be dairy.
When you go home from shul, you have coffee sometimes, and then you have separate. Come on from shul, you have coffee in the morning. After shul?
After shul, no. So, last time there were meals.
Last time there was one.
It must be dairy because, second, a number of reasons. Second is the first meal Thursday. The important meal Friday. The first day of Yom Tov.
Tomorrow night.
Not tomorrow night. The first meal of the day.
Yeah. The second meal.
Breakfast is the second meal of the holiday. Breakfast, or that's what you want to call it. That major meal on Friday morning. This would vary, first place, because the Torah is called chalav, milk. The Rash, the chalav, nachat ha-shorech. When you see the Torah is comparable to milk, that's all out of it. Secondly, the Rash says that the Jews came to Har Sinai, they prepared for the Torah, receiving the Torah. Hashem said, stop everything, prepare only to receive the Torah, which means you have no time to slaughter animals or chickens or anything. You have no time to salt the meat, no time to cook it, no time to prepare food. What do they eat? They haven't eaten dairy, because dairy requires no preparation. Remember that we have that meal in the morning when they receive the Torah, we have is dairy. But this in no way means that you're supposed to have that Shavuot is a dairy holiday. That's for sure. So it's not a dairy holiday. Shavuot is a holiday, and the Torah says that a person who does not eat meat on a holiday is not doing so in the Sabbath holiday.
Tomorrow night while we're reading and we're studying tomorrow night all night,
how could you say dairy if you say
about anything?
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, big soda.
You have soda during the day, it's all right.
While we're actually studying Torah.
So we have it there too. We have soda there.
You have soda also?
Yeah.
Since service?
Soda
too. So now we're studying Torah tonight. Why can we have soda while we're learning lesson?
It's different. 1 hour or being all day.
Now after 1 o'clock, what's your service on the day? You can't sleep, we said. What hours you sharing?
1 o'clock.
And you prefer it open?
Yes, sir.
So I always sent some things there. They were. He said he can. I got $10.
Last year, hold on, Lady, just leave it. Don't hold out your $10. That's just everything I said. Last year's story was I fed the dice on. No, we don't go for that buffet and so forth, because that's haram according to the Zohar Kadosh. You're not allowed to eat at night. Only drink. So we said we want somebody to be another 2 cases of soda, and still he was at home last year. This is nothing. That's zero. Money is, you can't buy it, money. It's delivery, this stuff. Of course, you can't deliver it in the car after I get here from the car. Forget it. Deliver in the car. You got to be a person afternoon. That's it. How many cases? 2 cases of the coin. Well, yeah, cuts. How many cases in the 6 packs? Family bottles. All family bottles. How many ounces? How many people do you have in the How many people do you have in the to recite Shavuot when Shavuot begins. The typical festival stars come out. Today, in order, today should be 49 complete days. Otherwise, you have 49 complete days.
Yeah, wait, now I want to ask you, what does it say here?